Deven Choksey joins us. Let's take our conversation forward with Deven Choksey. Deven, my good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. How was New Year's? I was hoping to get even a message from you on New Year's. This time it was missing. Nothing on Sunday also.
Nikunj, sorry about that.
Or maybe a box of chocolates or something more than a message.
Deven, now to make it up, you'll have to come to our studios and greet us there. Yeah.
I'm coming there. I'm coming there. Happy New Year to you all.
Our
Let
viewers
me
will
wish
not
you
complain as long as you say these are my stock ideas. New Year gift for them, not for us but for our viewers.
definitely. I think good stock ideas. Perfect.
So why don't you start?
Well, I think some of the very important, I think, developments which are happening in the areas of the fintech, and I think that is where some of the larger banks are going to be playing a role. That's where probably I think I would like to go with companies like HDFC Bank, HDFC Limited combined, where the significant amount of initiatives have been taken for creating a front end for lending, which is basically going to solve a larger part of the issue of, I think, extending the reach to the end customer. And at the same time, bringing down, I think, the cost of processing the transaction significantly. Now, this particular format is now emerging for a larger bank like HDFC Bank, which is going to be a combined bank with HDFC along with, and I think with all other investments into the subsidiaries. I believe that I think it's around 50 lakh crore worth of AUM if inside, I think in somewhere 2025-26. I think one could possibly go for such kind of a larger banking proposition, which is now emerging very, very clearly. So this is one organization, one bank, I think, which should be there in the portfolio as far as I think we look at our investment strategy. Similarly, I think some of the ideas, again, I think coming in from the large cap direction, but at the same time investing into the mid caps. And that's where probably I think I would include companies like Minda, Minda, where the business of the company is closely linked with the OEMs. And some of the best OEMs are, I think, their customers also in India and abroad. So from that perspective too, with the kind of growth which we are seeing in commercial vehicle, in passenger vehicle, and the segments in which this company is operating, I would think that I think this is an opportunity going forward for investors from the investment point of view. Maybe I think currently the market is not giving enough preference to the auto ancillary. But in my viewpoint, I think this is a time when probably one could add selectively into the portfolio such kind of quality stock ideas.
Look at Bajaj Finance, a stock which in fact in last 1 year, if you frankly ask me, has done precious little. Even for example, Nestle, in last 1 year, I don't think Nestle has given any kind of a very large return. That's Nestle for you today, last 1 year, 52-week change, it's a flat line, no change. Nestle has not made money for shareholders in last 1 year. Very small time frame, but I'm putting facts out. Facts are facts. Look at Asian Paints. I doubt that Asian Paints also has been a big wealth creator in last 1 year. There you go. 52-week change down 5%. Throw in a Bajaj Finance. The franchise value is growing. And the stock in last 1 year has given a 10% return. So Naresh, for a trader who has said, look, I made money in Bajaj Finance. In last 10 years, whichever level I've bought Bajaj Finance, it's given me a higher exit. Is the best of the price game behind us? Could Bajaj Finance do what Nestle has done or an Asian Paints has done? Gets into a time-wise correction.
So it's already been in the time-wise correction. So the stock was at, say, the same prices in last September also. And if you go back, say, it peaked out at, say, February of last year at 2021 at 5,500, 5,600. And we are very close to those levels in June of this year. The peak is around 7,500, 8,000. We've not seen that. So it's already spent a year and a half being sideways. Can it spend another 6 months, 12 months? Yes, absolutely. That is what the view is right now. I think it will find it difficult to go above 7,500, 7,800 levels in the near term also. So yes, I expect, and this is what has been happening with a lot of these stocks which were quality names. And when they go, for example, if you remember, Eicher Motors did something like this for 3 to 5 years. And it is still not there. So I think Bajaj Finance is getting into a space. And the fact is, Bajaj Finance used to be a leader in the financial pack. So whenever we've seen a Nifty financial, Fin Nifty go up, Bajaj Finance would go up. That is no more happening. So that clearly tells you it is getting into a time-wise correction.
Which is one stock where you're giving up? You said 10 साल हो गया, अब patience नहीं है. It's time for me to give up because I've been patient. Now I have limited capital. It's a very reasonable answer question. That I've waited for 2-3 years, and my theory of remaining invested in that stock is not working out, and I am now looking for better options. Is there any name on your radar?
So I don't wait that long on
You
the
don't wait
wrong
3
side.
years, okay.
But
How long
one
do you
stock
wait?
which has been a terrible one where I've got more stop loss hits is Sun TV, which has just been at 450, 500 every
Z
time.
also.
Yeah.
Z also.
Z had spurts. He was one of the best trades multiple times. But Sun TV has gone nowhere. So it's been at that 450, 500. So there has never been a 20% pop. Z has had multiple 30, 40, 50% pop. So that was the worst one.
Okay.
Where
Deven,
you got stopped out.
which is one stock where you're giving up? You say, okay, earnings are there, fundamentally the stock is cheap, but ultimately it's all about generating superior returns, and the cost of opportunity is better elsewhere. Which is one stock where you're tired of waiting?
So fortunately, I think in my portfolio, I think one stock, there are not many such stocks except one, which is Tata Motors. I think the company, which has always been, I think, doing well, except I think the problems that they have been facing into JLR portfolio. The domestic market portfolio, both commercial vehicle, passenger vehicle, I think what a smart comeback in this particular segment. JLR is testing the patience, definitely for sure. But I do understand, I think, the kind of workouts which are happening into the organization. So it gives me, I think, relatively more amount of clarity that not that everything is lost. Probably, I think in such cases, you at times, I think it tastes your patience. But at the same time, I think if you are clear with the fundamentals of the business, I think possibly you will get rewarded and rewarded handsomely in such kind of opportunities. So this is where probably I think one requires to carry a lot of conviction in the business. In my viewpoint, I think the majority of the portfolio stocks that we are carrying, we carrying a good long-term conviction. Even if for a couple of years, I think they don't perform, still at the end of it, I think in the compounded basis, they would have performed, I think, eventually. So I think they normally, I think we have seen, I think our portfolios compounding in the vicinity of around 25% plus. So I think we are happy with that part of it. Sometimes I think some stocks don't appreciate, but I think eventually they catch up in subsequent period.
Coming in, a quick look at the markets as well. There's quite a bit of strength across the globe actually. The European markets are now sitting with a gain of 1.5 to 2%. In fact, FTSE is up over 2%. And if you look at the pre-market rates from US, the Dow futures now suggesting an up move of around 350 points. It's a bit of readjustment as well in the sense that last week the volumes were on the lower side. There were a lot of holidays as well. And today is perhaps the first day when the markets will start with quite a bit of volume and everybody will be back to work perhaps. And that's the reason there is a bit of adjustment there. Having said that, let's take a look at some of the buzzers back home as well, which are the price volume buzzers. We have Power Finance Corporation or PFC, which has hit a 5-year intraday high. It's the biggest single weekly gain that the company has reported, or rather the stock is seeing at the moment since February of 2021. And separately, we have M&M Finance, which has formed a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. The volumes are quite high, so 3 times 20-day average trading volume, so a bit of profit booking there. HDFC Life has snapped the 1-month downtrend in a single session. It's formed a bullish belt hold, and the volumes are too at 3 times 10-day average. In fact, the entire insurance space is doing quite well, whether life insurance or general insurance. You have HDFC Life up 5% as we talked about. ICICI Pru is up 4%. Life insurance is up around 3.5%. Plus a lot of other names like SBI Life, ICICI Lombard are up anywhere between 2 to 4%. With Vinay, your take as far as the entire insurance pocket is concerned, which is the stock with the strongest charts?
Yeah. So from the insurance sector, I like SBI Life. If we compare it with the other stocks, it is actually has been holding above its 200 days moving average. So comparative strength is there, relative strength is there, and today also it has gone up by 2.5% with a rising volume. So technical setup was strong on the long-term chart as well, and now we are getting some traction on the short-term chart. So I would recommend SBI Life from the insurance space. In fact, if you can trade for 2 to 3 sessions, I would recommend going long in SBI Life around 1270, and stop loss could be 1247 for the trading purpose, and on the upside we can expect a target of 1310. So from the insurance space, I would go with the SBI Life.
some interesting names that you're picking out within that space. Deven, how about betting on the entire Capex theme, be it, capital goods companies, infra-related, defense, rail, especially with the budget around the corner? This sector is definitely expected to see a boom.
Absolutely. I think, see, this is, according to me, it's a 10-year story, frankly speaking, for India. Infrastructure spending has just started and it started, I think, big time. Last year budget allocated 7.5 lakh crore. This year it is likely to be 9 lakh crore plus. I think 10-year horizon and the roadmap is about 110 lakh crore spending on infrastructure. So I think a lot of heavy lifting is happening into the economy with most of the giant projects coming into the country. And that is where possibly some of the engineering companies, some of the companies, I think, in the basically precision engineering and materials, including technology companies like ABB, Siemens, and for that matter, even some part of Larsen. I find that I think these are all the companies which would possibly have relatively higher order books to execute in coming period. And that's where probably I think the argument for having them into the portfolio. Maybe most of these companies are quoting at a decent premium, and at this point of time, I think one would not immediately jump into it. But in a corrective market, if the stocks I think remain sideways for a very long period of time, that would be the time to buy them into the portfolio and probably I think get the maximum out of it.
Asked for 50 to 50,000 crore for losses on oil and for losses essentially because of under recovery. I'll tell you what, we'll try and take out a view from the minister, the cabinet minister of petroleum and natural gas, that's Hardeep Puri. When we specifically asked him on what the plan for OMCs is, and he said, look, they may have done all the heavy lifting in terms of taking care of the price shock, but ultimately these are companies which need to run, which need to survive, and for survival you need cash line and a profitability and a regime which is going to help them make money. Let's hear him out, and then I'll go to Deven Choksey for his comments.
It would be useful to acknowledge that high oil prices will further exacerbate the current situation and drive the global economy into the big R.
Yes.
And once that happens, again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. You have inflation, you have high oil prices, you go into recession. You go into recession, in any case, the demand drops.
Yes.
So you're back to square one. So aren't you better off to calibrate the extent of energy or the extent of crude that you produce and release into the market? You've got some form of restrictions, Venezuela, Iran, and you've got this price cap issue with the Russian. I think we reached a situation you have to be very careful on how you navigate through this.
But on oil diplomacy, Mr. Puri, I think it's been a victory for us. Just to put it on record, how much of the oil in India is now coming from Russia, and do you see that number increasing in 2023?
First of all, you don't determine how much you're going to buy from X or Y. The purchasing is done by the private sector and the OMCs according to price. They've got term arrangements, they've got spot, etc. I started by telling you we consume about 5 million barrels a day. Yeah. For a long time, prior to 31st March 2022, our largest suppliers were, and in many ways continue to be, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, maybe somebody else, roughly at the level of 800, 900,000 barrels a day. Let's say 20 years from now, where 25% of the global demand will come from India. So you're looking at the present, you're looking at a transition in terms of green energy, and you are looking at not a prospect, but a certainty that by 2047, you will be an advanced economy. Your per capita consumption will have gone up from 5 million barrels a day. It will go up to 6, 6.5, 7. Your transition, your biofuel mixing will go up sharply. Your use of compressed biogas will go up. You're already making second generation biofuels from pranali or agricultural waste. So the country is going through a fascinating transition. But as I say, in all transitions, the challenges have not resulted in our commitment and dedication to green sustainable energy being diluted even one bit.
Yes.
Deven, is there a trade in OMCs? They were losing money. Now, luckily, looks like they will be compensated and they will make money. These stocks are available at P multiple of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, depending on the estimates. But the estimates are all pointing that they are below 10 times P.
So, Nikunj, I think I'm not a very big fan of government-owned businesses. I think where probably the decisions are taken at the stroke of pen. I think this is unfair that I think if the companies are into listed market, all the decisions are taken by the government. I think in the listed market companies, I think the decision should be left to the independent board of directors, but that's not the case here. And that is one of the reasons for which I think one cannot get confidence of investing into these companies. Imagine, I think, the kind of business in which they have been operating and for such long period of time. Where have they been able to make any kind of an impact or a change? Maybe I think merely growing some part of the capacity, but beyond that, nothing. They could not even change, I think, the business model with the time. So, frankly speaking, I think it requires a drastic change in the way in which I think public sector companies are governed in the country. And that is where probably I think one would like to stay away from it, I think, as far as investments are concerned.
All right. That's the view coming in. Just getting a view then from you, Deven, as to what the outlook is on the entire cement sector as a whole as well. Just building on that infra theme, how would you look at the competition that's picking up within this space, and are there any names that merit a look?
In fact, I think we remain extremely convinced about the prospects going ahead for the cement companies, and particularly those companies which are having pan-India presence. So given the kind of infrastructure projects that we are executing in the country, across the country, I would think that I think companies with pan-India presence with a larger capacity would be relatively better off. Into the smaller pockets of southern India, I think there are many small companies which are probably, I think, suffering more because of the economics of scale. And that's where probably I believe that I think southern pocket, I think you could possibly see some amount of consolidation happening into within the smaller companies. I think the combined ACC Ambuja combined taken over by Adani's definitely I think holds top in the list as far as the opportunity goes. On one side, they are having Gujarat-based ports, I think, where probably they have got the best abilities to transport cement. On the other side, I think the mining rights on the limestone, I think they're definitely given the edge. The logistic part of the cement transportation with rail, road, and waterways combined, I guess I think is the best ability which ACC Ambuja would enjoy. And that's where probably I think you could possibly argue going forward and letting higher amount of realization on per ton as far as the profits are concerned. So that is where we probably remain relatively more optimistic. We believe that I think out there they will also have some amount of inorganic growth, including acquisition in some of the pockets where they are not present. Would be definitely I think order of the day going forward.
Quick look at some of the counters before we just, close for the session. Just 2.5 minutes left for it. Religare is suddenly making quite a bit of up move. GIC as well as New India Assurance are a couple of other names, and VMart Retail in the last 2 minutes has seen a sudden spike, and all of these counters are now up anywhere between 6 to 10%. But let's quickly get the BTST ideas out of the way. Naresh, what are the picks that you have?
So it would be a buy on IndusInd Bank with a target price of 1280 and a stop loss at 1220. Second would be a buy on Vedanta Limited with a stop loss at 315 and a target price of 330.
Okay, Vinay, what about you? What are your top bets quickly for the BTST trades?
Yeah, so I would go for Titan, which is trading around 2600 with a stop loss of 2550. One can go long, and upside target would be 2680. And the second one would be the IT sector, TCS, around 3310. One can go long. 3240 should be the stop loss. And on the upside, we can expect a target of 3425.
All right, let's wind it down then and wrap up the markets for you. And it must be noted that while we did attempt to see a pullback, the range has been very tight, and we wrap up the day at about 18,234. Remember, you have seen a little bit of a spurt as well across the global markets this afternoon, which has aided the case, but it's exactly 0.2% higher across the board. Mid caps, small caps included. Media, metals, that's where the pain is, along with auto, pharmaceuticals, as well as PSU banks and IT, they make a gain on the index. Top winners then, and let's mark some of the names. You've got an HDFC Life, SBI Life looking smart, Axis Bank at 962, Titan, TCS, Tech Mahindra, Wipro. Those are the stocks within the entire IT basket that scale up. Sun Pharma as well as an Apollo Hospitals in the green. On the flip side though, Hindalco, JSW Steel lose out, Reliance Industries down 0.7%, Grasim, ONGC, ITC and even something like an Eicher Motors is awfully quiet in trade. VMart gains about 9%, Swan Energy up and about, Indocount, Bank of Maharashtra, UCO Bank as well as Rajesh Exports and PFC are some of the other counters that gain traction in trade today. To the newsmakers, Zomato, the co-founder and chief technology officer, has resigned, and this is another high-profile exit that we've seen in a matter of the last 1 year or so. CSB Bank gains in trade largely on the back of the kind of updates that they've given. South Indian Bank as well, the gross advances are up 18% on a year-on-year basis. Karnataka Bank has come out with their Q3 provisional deposits, which has grown about 7.8% on a year-on-year basis. Hindustan Zinc, the highest ever 9-month mined metal production is what the company has delivered. So that's kept the stock in the spotlight. UBS came out with its note on ITC. They've downgraded the stock to neutral. They've hiked the target price though to 355 rupees. Meantime, you've also got some of the other stocks like Gujarat Gas. The channel checks indicate that propane prices in the Morbi region have been hiked, so that keeps the stock in the spotlight. Piramal Pharma is on Jefferies' radar, a buy rating with a 150 rupee target price on the stock. M&M Financial, you had the strong loan growth coming in. Strong collection efficiency coming in, so that kept the stock in the news today. And Infy is Citi's only buy rating within the IT sector, so that too has kept the stock in the spotlight, while Federal Bank as well came out with its big updates. The gross advances up 19%. So that pretty much summarizes another range-bound day of trade. And on that note then, from the team that put the show together, thanks so much for watching.